I always wanted to be a mom. I remember telling people I wanted at least 6 kids, and they would look at me and laugh and just say, well, wait until you have one. The day after I had my first baby, I remember sitting on the hospital bed with my husband, and I looked at her and I just burst into tears, because in that moment I realized my life was never going to be the same. Because once you become a mother, you're a mother for life. I had this idea in my head of what motherhood was going to be like. I expected it to come naturally. I expected it to be filled with joy, but most of the time it wasn't. There were times I'd be up at night holding my crying baby, bitterly weeping, wondering what I was doing wrong. I had so much guilt. Guilt for not knowing how to mother my own child. Guilt for the resentment I had toward my child. There was so much shame that I isolated myself so people wouldn't see how bad of a mother I thought I was. Looking back now, I see that if I had had the tools then that I had now, like decision making, knowing how to ask for help, or even knowing that it's okay to ask for help, managing my mind during those times of extreme exhaustion, if I had had those tools, the transition to motherhood would have been so much smoother. I think God allowed me those dark moments so I could meet other mothers in their pain and help them out of their trenches, their dark places. The Art of Being a Woman masterclass taught me skills that I didn't even know I was lacking after nearly 12 years of parenting. I want mothers to know that you don't have to suffer in silence, that being in survival mode isn't supposed to be the norm. I want mothers to know it's never too late to begin your journey towards growth. That it's not a selfish decision to invest in yourself. Because only after we are whole are we able to give back to those around us.
Good evening and welcome to Sophia Homeschools live webinar on the art of being a woman. I'm Judith Jolma. I'm the founder of Sophia Homeschool, and I'm also a strategist for the Women's School, which means that I help to coach women from living in a life of depletion into living a life of wholeness. Now, we teamed up with the Women's School, the art of being a woman, about a year ago, because as I was working with women in the capacity of homeschooling, I kept finding an underlying barrier to becoming the excellent educators that we as parents all dream that we can give. We want to give our children the very best education. And we think that this comes in the form of books and materials and opportunities and resources. And we don't always realize that their number one, their primary tool, the thing that they learn from more than anything else, is us. They're learning from mom, from the mother, more than anything else in their world. It is the prepared adult in their educational environment which has the most profound effect on their learning, especially for the very young children. The very young children who have that absorbent mind, they are learning not so much A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. That's what we hope that they're learning, right? But they're actually learning, how do I solve a problem? How do I use perseverance? How do I not give up? How do I not believe that I'm dumb and therefore never try? How do I apply myself and use concentration? How do I speak graciously and kindly to others? You see, all of these things are foundational for academic success. If a child cannot use concentration, how can he study anything? And where is he going to learn concentration? He's going to learn from the environment which is prepared, which allows him to concentrate because it's not full of chaos, interruptions, distraction, anxiety. Where does anxiety, distraction, and chaos come from? It comes from the adult in the environment who is not properly managing that environment. It comes from the adult who is full herself of anxiety. And so it becomes critical for any educator to be that prepared adult. Now, how do we do that? No one ever taught us how to be the prepared adult. And this is why we at Sophia Homeschool, we teamed up with the Women's School because this is where we learn those very important skills to manage these things in our own lives, knowing that we are our child's textbook. We are their education, and what we do will be amplified in them. We hear all the time, children are the future. Baloney. Children are not the future. We are the future of our children. And so if we don't have our own things in order, our own mind, our own finances, our own time, our own health, our own boundaries, our own self-respect, if these arenas of our life are not properly managed, everything else falls apart. Our cups are empty. And everyone knows that you cannot give what you do not have. So, well, I can teach you how to teach ABC and 1, 2, 3, and how to set up a lesson plan and how to have your child prepared for college and all of these wonderful things that go along with homeschooling. I'm telling you, your child's education will not be successful unless you are giving from a place of wholeness. And so I believe with all my heart that the Women's School is a critical foundational component, not only to homeschoolers, but to every parent, because at the end of the day, we are all our child's primary educator. When we send them out to school, it's like we're hiring out. Yes, I hire an electrician to do the electrical work in my home. I hire a math teacher to teach my child arithmetic. That's when we send them to school, we're hiring out. But when they come back home, their education is our responsibility. We are the primary educator. And what do we want for them? We want them to be happy. Well, they're going to model the happiness that they have modeled for them. So if you want your children to be happy, are you happy? You want your children to be successful. Isn't that the point of their education? You want them to be successful. Are you successful? Have you modeled that for them? And what is your definition of success? Very important. Your definition of success is going to form their definition of success. Do you know what my definition of success is? My definition of success is that I have a happy and whole family. I have been successful in what I have set out to do. So these are the things that we want to give you the tools that you're going to need to create this environment for your children. Of course, at Sophia Homeschool, we're giving teacher training to homeschool parents. And where are we going to start? What is the more foundational place than this right here? Teacher training. We're going to put the teachers through some serious training, and we're going to start with the Women's School. So I have here joining me today as our guests 3 strategists for the Women's School. These are life coaches. These are women who not only teach the Women's School, but they themselves have been transformed by it. They are regular women just like you and me, in the throes of daily life, raising their own families, getting their own education, going about the life, and feeling the effects of the culture on them. They're feeling the overwhelm. They're feeling the anxiety. They're feeling the lack of being prepared. And they go in and they take the master class and they see suddenly they're able to live with confidence because now they are competent. They have skills and they master these skills so well that now they've turned out and they're teaching others. So our first guest today is Kelsey Rube, who is a wife and a working homeschool mother. She also took our Foundations workshop at Sophia Homeschool, as she is homeschooling her little ones, her 2 little girls. And there's no need to wait for the kids to be in school. I'm sorry, Kelsey, you have 3 little boys. I was telling Sarah's story. Yes, Kelsey has 3 little boys, and she's preparing them for, they're in preschool now, so she's getting ready to homeschool, and she's doing all of her work ahead of time to prepare herself to be their teacher. She's putting herself through this teacher training now. You can start when your children are in 10th grade. You can start when they're in 6th grade. She's starting when they're in preschool. She's not wasting any time. It is a smart move. All right, we have Sarah Rooney. Sarah is also a working homeschooling mother of 2 girls. There you go. I got it right this time. And she went from depletion to thriving in her journey with the Women's School. It's a beautiful story, and I'll let her tell the story. We also have with us today Mercy DeMasi. Mercy is a student. She's a single young woman, and she brings a powerful perspective to this today because she's here to tell us why it's so important to not wait. If you have daughters and you want to give them a solid foundation on bringing under control all these arenas in their life, to being able to manage their emotions, their mind, their health, their finances, and all of these things before they have to deal with collateral damage. This is the time, and Mercy is going to tell us exactly what she's experienced as she's gone through the Women's School now at this phase in life and how beautiful it is. So let's dive on in and let's get started. So ladies, without further ado, let's dive in and get started. Mercy, if you don't mind, I would love to start with your story because I think that you really do bring a beautiful perspective to this. Would you just walk us through your experience with the Women's School and give our viewers just a little bit of a snapshot at what it does and how it has transformed you and your life?
Absolutely. Thank you, Judith, for the introduction. So as mentioned, I am single and have had the opportunity to take the class, the Women's School class, before, as I used to say, life got started. It was a common phrase that perhaps many of you are aware of as a young woman waiting to get married, waiting for life to really get kicked off. And taking the class, I had the great privilege and honor of actually taking the class with my mother and 4 sisters. So we journeyed together, started in this past January and ended this summer. And we journeyed as a family, as young women, and also being able to talk in a really clear, precise manner about our experiences, with self-image, with self-worth, with direction, dreams and desires, contribution, what it meant to really recognize that your unique person, your unique creation of who you are, that God created that with this intention that you would shed a light that nobody else could give. And how elevating that is, that you don't have to live according to a stereotype, according to expectations that our culture puts on you, but rather you have to live according to your dreams and take it so seriously that in order for your heart to really be free to discover what you were created for, you need to remove the roadblocks and the barriers and the ideas that have been forced on you and around you through. I mean, I also had a wonderful childhood, but I recognize that there was wiring that took place that I've been able to go back and really alter and fix. And it's liberated me to be who I am today, to not wait with this attitude of life will get started when, but rather to dream now, to implement skills now, so that when, God willing, I do get married, I have a life of flourishing joy and contribution, that my children have somebody who has diligently worked and prepared for the honor of raising young human beings to know their own worth, to be able to be in a relationship, hopefully, to get married to somebody who also pursues their dreams, to contribute to them, so that our life together is nourishing to everybody who walks in. So part of the journey is imagining and emotionalizing what you desire. And with all of my heart, I desire to be a wellspring of comfort and clarification, and that whenever anybody comes in contact, it doesn't matter if they may never remember what I say or what I do, and that's all right. But I want them to feel loved, to feel appreciated, to feel seen. And that's a skill that comes when you're able to first care for yourself, to have the prudence to discern where you need to improve in your life and what things are prohibiting that, to have the courage to overcome fears, the courage to stand up to stereotypes, especially in our culture. You're either a feminist or you're not. And it's never that black and white. You need to be a woman first and foremost. And the class liberated me on realizing that definition, it really stems from inside of us on a personal journey.
Marcy, that is so beautiful. And I want to springboard on that, because you hit on something really powerful, that when you liberate yourself, this is how you become a light to others. And so I want to just segue right there into Kelsey's story, because I know, Kelsey, you have seen with this transformation and how it has affected your family. Would you say that pouring all this effort into personal development was a selfish move?
Oh gosh, absolutely not. Yeah, that is so interesting, because I think we come up against this a lot, where a lot of my clients, when I talk with them, there is that resistance of, well, gosh, I can't spend all this time on myself, or I can't spend all this money on myself, when really it's the opposite. And actually, one of my clients I was just working with her, and she kind of had this breakthrough of realizing that when she wasn't learning these skills of particularly mind management is what we were working on, because that's where it all starts. We have to first manage our mind in order to manage our life. So we were talking about that, and she realized, oh my gosh, like I was spending so much time thinking about myself. And now when she's taking this course, she's realizing that, and realizing now that I recognize this, I can change that, shift it, and start thinking about others. So regarding with my family, absolutely. I mean, there are so many examples of how I show up better for my family from the training that I've received in the masterclass. And I think today, so I'm the detail person. When it's easy to say my life has changed, my life has transformed from the masterclass, but I'm the person who, when I hear that, I want to know the details. Well, how does this show up in your day-to-day life? So one of the biggest skills is recalibrating, learning how to recalibrate, because anyone with little children knows that there are so many opportunities all day long to reset your focus, to recalibrate. And it's one thing just to say that, but it's another thing to actually learn the skill of how to do that. And the amazing thing is, because I was thinking about this as I was preparing for the webinar, I think in the last 3 months, maybe 4 months, I think I've had one bad day. Like where you have a bad day where at the end of the day, you're just worn out, you're exhausted, and everything is just terrible. You're like, that's how I would qualify a bad day. Otherwise, my day is full of speed bumps and, little difficult moments. But at the end of the day, like, I'm tired. but I'm happy and it was a good day. It's not defining my day because I'm able to always recalibrate. So that's just one thing of how it's changed showing up in my life. But I would say just kind of,
there's a contrast from what we generally hear about motherhood. We hear motherhood is exhausting. We hear motherhood is depleting. We hear motherhood is the end of all your dreams, and that you have to be frumpy and without makeup. You just have to be overwhelmed. That's what being a mother is. And you're telling me, no,
yeah,
that's not the story.
no. And something that January Donovan, who teaches the master class, something that she said that I've heard over and over again, and it really stuck with me, of you can have moments of it. You have moments of overwhelm. You have moments of discouragement, but that doesn't have to be you. That doesn't have to define you. And that stuck with me so much. And honestly, it's the depth, it's the layers. You realize it more and more as you walk it out, but it's that recalibration where you might have a hard morning and then you're able to switch it around and have a beautiful afternoon. Or you might have a hard 15 minutes, but you're able to switch it and show up differently 15 minutes later for your kids. So,
and that's a skill. That's a skill that you learn.
Yeah.
Oh, that is beautiful. We're going to get into in a few minutes here exactly what the masterclass is. This is the Women's School Masterclass. Yes, founded by, designed by January Donovan, who has been a personal friend, I think, of most of us here for a long time, and who we just said, this is what we have been looking for in a culture that no longer has feminine mentors anymore. And it would be nice if we could learn these things in a culture, in a community where we worked alongside neighbors and aunts, and we had an older generation maybe living in the same home and helping us learn how to take care of a tantrum, how to deal with a teether, how to sing a good lullaby, how to get a baby to sleep through the night, how to homeschool your children, how to deal with adolescence, how to, all of these things used to be just absorbed and taken in and learned as we observed the community around us do. But we don't have that anymore. So we have to turn to, fortunately, we have this incredible program that actually is going to teach us these skills, but to go from now where we're at, what the general society tells us what mothering is supposed to look like, depletion. But we can go from depletion to thriving, right, Sarah?
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us your story? Share that with us, because it inspires me so much. I just love seeing the transformation that you've come through.
Yeah, thank you. I think I experienced long times of infertility. So switching to motherhood was a definite mindset shift and it's a piece I didn't get the skills for. Again, when you're running out of depletion, it's never going to happen. This wound that keeps getting reopened every month. Then you have a baby, you're not sure it's going to stay. And then it happens and you're like, oh God, I don't know what to do, because I didn't actually think it was really going to happen, because I was thinking out of all this scarcity and fear and everything else that I didn't really realize I was. And then and my personality or training, whatever we want to say, I was much more performance based. So if this baby isn't doing everything it's supposed to, then I'm doing it all wrong. And then the heaping on of guilt, and I'm doing stuff wrong because this isn't working. I had a colicky baby and I had postpartum depression and anxiety. That combo does not go well, right? But I didn't also have the awareness to see those things. And so all throughout my experience of motherhood, it's been super depletion. I've been working part-time, or I've been teaching fertility awareness, and then now I get to be thriving and working. But so I was teaching, I was supposed to be doing so many things, and I was just exhausting myself because I wanted to hit some certain imagined crazy threshold of done to feel like I was capable and worthy, right? My self-worth was and it was an interesting distinction going through the class. My self-worth, I would have said I was worthy, but my self-image was very poor. The way I talked to myself was very mean. I would never talk to someone else like that, but I was doing it constantly to myself. So pretty much depletion, right? I was exhausted all the time, getting frustrated that things weren't working the way they were supposed to. I was never doing enough. I had a lot of meltdowns to the point where my husband was like, oh my gosh. And I kept telling myself, oh, I'm so overwhelmed. I don't have time for anything, blah, 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 right? The same things till had been working on pieces and little pieces, but still life felt hard, right? Everything felt hard still. Even if I was good at certain things, I would only look at where it was hard. That's the other piece too, right? I wasn't acknowledging the good that was actually going on most of the time. Shifting to the women's school, it was unreal. First of all, managing my mind. What I was thinking was actually creating most of what was happening, because I wasn't allowing myself to see things differently. And then also the self-image piece. When I thought poorly of myself, it was hard to find a solution or think like, oh, this could be better. Like the idea of dreaming, besides like goals, I got the goals part, but it was still challenging, right? Or the idea of dreaming, bigger dreams, like, holy cow, I could support our family monetarily, or I could actually be a peaceful mom and we could have a house that didn't have clutter. Like that was almost unfathomable, which sounds silly. Like other people do it. Didn't I think I could? I don't know. But all those pieces, as I became more and more aware, I realized I really didn't believe I was capable of it. And how sad. Like, I know I'm a smart person. I know like I can do things at some level, but the deeper level did not actually know any of those things.
Let's talk a little bit about the dreaming, because that's huge. And that's just, let's just open up for all of you, because when I think about dreaming, at first, the dreams are immature. What would you really want? Well, lobster dinners on a yacht, right? Of course, who doesn't want that? But when it comes right down to, when you get drilled down to the depths of your heart, don't you really just want your kids to come up in the morning and to kiss their little foreheads and to be really happy to see them and say, good morning, I'm so happy to see you today. And you want to have a routine to your day so that if somebody is grumpy, they know how to recalibrate because you've taught them, and because you are a peaceful tower of refuge for your family. I mean, at the heart of your dreams, don't you want to sit on the foot of your bed and sing them lullabies? And to be able to have the resources to be able to go out on date nights and to be able to give your children incredible experiences, and to, yeah, that's even better than lobster lunches on a yacht, isn't it? And when we drill down to this dreaming and we say, and it's almost too terrifying. It's like that is too terrifying to think about because it seems so unattainable. But you all three are here to tell me that it's not unattainable, that you can actually get there. And it's as simple as what? What does it take?
You know, Judy, when you were speaking about like the terrifying aspect, January recently shared a story about one of her sons, and she said, you know, I won't call out which child, but she just said, you know, the reason that you sleep in the morning is because you haven't crystallized your dreams. And it was so interesting to me to hear that, because we've taken the course and it's a lifelong journey, and you go through the material once, twice through, and every single time you get something else. And I heard that and I said, you know, at the heart of everything, you know, when you say, oh, I should just be more disciplined, I should just be this, my laundry would be done if I didn't do. And it's all these really condemning scripts towards yourself. And I think that January would very graciously say, you know, actually, like, the heart of it is that you haven't crystallized your dream. Like, you don't know what it is that you want. And because you don't know what it is that you want, like, you're disciplining yourself and doing these very hard things without the strength and the power behind it to say, you know, I get up at this time every morning because I'm working towards creating a lifestyle that allows me to sit down every evening with my family to a dinner that I've prepared in a peaceful and like gentle manner that, you know, we enjoy together, we laugh together, my children enjoy cleaning up afterwards, or like, you know, whatever it is, because my day has been one that I stepped into from the very first moment. And I think that's so important to highlight, because when we all sit and we think about what it is that we want, it does start off like lobster dinners on a yacht. I think that when I first started the class, it was the hardest question in the world to answer. I was really lost, and I just kept saying, I just want to be married. And I still say I want to be married, but I know something more about that dream, and I want it in a different way. And the other dreams that sprung out of my heart that was searching, just like, I want a routine. Like, I really want a routine. And so it's like, okay, so how do I get there? And then the discipline made sense. I wake up at the same time every day, and I drink my coffee out of the same mug, and I just do these different things. And I find that allows my mind to just feel reassured that there's something that's reliable right from the beginning of the day.
Mm-hmm. All right, now I know a lot of people are asking, what is this woman's goal? What do you do? How does it work? So who wants to take a stab at walking us through exactly what the nuts and the bolts of what is this woman's school? Kelsey, could you go ahead? Could you walk me through this?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, so the Art of Being a Woman Masterclass, the Women's School has the Art of Being a Woman Masterclass, which is a 6-month course, and there's 22 lessons in total, so it takes roughly 6 months if you're doing one lesson a week. And there's homework that goes with each of the lessons. And the homework is where the real work happens, because each of the lessons is full of amazing content, and you'll have these breakthrough moments of, oh my gosh, I never thought about it that way, and January is so amazing and so well spoken and so smart because she is. And then you get to take the worksheets and actually start doing that into your work and actually digging in of what's inside and what are these beliefs that I have about myself? What are the thoughts that I have? Where is this showing up in my life? Where are the roadblocks? What does my routine look like? So you've got the worksheets that go with it. And then there is also coaching that goes along with it as well, where you can do it in a group setting with a group where a strategist will guide you through. The strategist will be the facilitator of guiding you through that. And a lot of people love the group setting because it provides that accountability. I love recommending it to women who thrive in a collaborative environment where you come prepared because you've done the homework and you're ready to give and ready to serve. And it helps everyone else too, because they realize, oh my gosh, I feel this way too. I didn't know you did. Like, I had no idea you were struggling with this. So that's the group environment. You can also go through it one-on-one with a coach. And that's called private strategy, where you're meeting weekly or bi-weekly, whatever the strategist ends up doing, where you're meeting with them. And that's where you really get to, again, there's so much. This is the masterclass, the foundation for your entire life that you're designed to go through again and again, which I think all of us here have done. And so this is where in private strategy, where you get to look at that scenario, that micro moment. Where is this showing up in my life? What are we going to talk about today? Of all these 10 topics that we can talk about, what are we going to dive into, and like what's on your heart? And really creating that specific plan for yourself. We do the dreaming together with one-on-one clients, where it's super helpful to walk through with a coach. I have so many clients who are like, yeah, I didn't really get to that part. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. So to have a coach walk you through it and like, okay, well, what do you really want? Let's break that into your goal, into your actions, and let's do this together. So that's,
and I will be at the end of the webinar showing you guys how to get a 14-day free trial for that, because I don't want you to be like, I don't know what this is supposed to look like or anything. But I wanted to be able to explain the lay of the land. Thank you so much for that, Kelsey, for showing us what it looks like, so you have a better perspective of what we're talking about. Because to be perfectly honest, even though, yes, I am a strategist for the Women's School, I don't do Women's School coaching anymore, because I'm fully committed to my homeschooling coaching and helping families figure out how to take care of their children's academic needs. But I have to tell you that as I'm working with so many beautiful, beautiful women, and we're talking about their children and their children's needs, and they say, I'm just having such a hard time because I can't keep my schedule. or I just feel run down all the time, or I don't know, I just don't, I volunteer for everything, right? That's not a curriculum question. And it's so important, it's so wonderful to be able to say, homeschool families really cannot be successful without these basic skills. It really is, and that's why we teamed up with the women's school at Sophia Homeschool, because I see this all the time. Our children are going to model what we do, right? Our children are going to look to us. You know, children are not the future. Just get that old narrative just out of your brain. Children are not the future. We are the future of our children. And that's terrifying when we realize that responsibility that is on us, that we are wiring in them their self-image by the things that we say to ourselves. Think academically. If we are beating ourselves up every time we make a mistake, are they going to dare write that paper because they might spell a word wrong? They won't have the courage to try something hard if they see us beating ourselves up all the time. And that's where we have to say, I am more important than their curriculum books. In fact, I am their curriculum. They're looking and reading me more than they're reading the textbooks, more than they're reading any opportunity that I give them in life, more than any mentor, any priest, any coach, anything, it's me. So get the mold right, we get the kids right. But Mercy, I want to talk about what it means for mothers who are going through this with their daughters. You went through this with your mother and your sisters, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Tell me about
listening
that.
to talk. Yeah, it's so interesting because there's a section in the class when you're evaluating your self-image and really giving yourself permission to be honest and vulnerable with things that you've believed about yourself. You usually have to push it and ask, like, where did this spring up? And so often it's from childhood. You know, something, you know, every time I got an A on my paper, my mom or dad like threw a big, huge thing. It was the biggest deal in the world. And every time I got a B or a C, they'd just be like, oh, okay. Like, you know, not that happened. Like, these are like the specific things. And it allows you to say, you know, that put an expectation of producing. Like, you need to produce to feel desired. Like, in order for somebody to say, like, wow, you are wonderful, it's when you get an A. It's when you, like, excel in your reading. It's when teachers compliment you or reach out. Like, that's when you receive some sort of a honoring or compliment, a form of compliment from a parent. So taking it with my mom, it was very interesting to see that things that she believed about herself from her childhood, like, we did our homework separately, and then we would come together as women and we would share. And it was very vulnerable, but we, like, her daughters had scripts that were almost identical to hers. And it was I have so much respect for my mother because it was such a moment of humility. Mm-hmm. And this point where she said, you know, I would never have wanted any of my daughters to think or feel the way that I thought and felt about myself. But you don't, when you don't have the self-awareness of what you think about yourself, you don't have control over how it's illustrated. So whether it's style, like my mother is not always invested in clothing because of a self-image. And since this class, it's very different. But you recognize there's a discomfort amongst her daughters of like, oh, you don't spend money on clothing because that's, you know, there are better places to spend money. Or are you trying to be ostentatious in your dress? Or are you just being prideful and vain? And these aren't scripts that were ever said aloud. But as daughters watching our mom, we definitely like recognize, oh, mom doesn't dress like that. Mom doesn't wear makeup. Mom doesn't wear earrings. Mom doesn't do. And these natural things start coming up, because I mean, from a daughter to a mother, you know, daughters desire to be like their mothers. Right? They are their heroes. And this example they're setting of the way that they care about themselves is directly passed on to their daughters and to all their children, like to children. And I think that just my personal experience of taking the class with my mother and with my sisters and being able to have common vocabulary and to be able to say, wow, I know exactly where this started. I know what day it was on. I remember when I started believing this about myself. And then for somebody to say, well, I would never, you know, it's not as if I think the world of my mother. I think she's the greatest mom. But I also recognize that her wounds and the fact that she didn't have this opportunity to have somebody take her hand and guide her, that she had to do it all on her own. And my mom is incredible. She homeschooled all of us. She had 14 children, and she raised a phenomenal family. I'm on my way to a master's. I have siblings in higher education, like lots of nieces and nephews, and there's a great deal of life and happiness in our family. But there are also wounds that are there because she had to figure it out all on her own. And so it's something that I have so much admiration for, and also recognize the gift this would have been for her 40 years ago, 50 years ago.
So there are a lot of women out there who are dealing with all kinds of self-doubt, or maybe they're not doubting themselves, but they're trying to figure out their parenting techniques or their health or financial aspects, and they say, well, I listen to a ton of podcasts and I read a lot of books. Is that enough?
Yeah, I can speak to that. I'm a serial online summit person, like never ending. I'm always listening. I'm like, okay, this is going to clinch it. This is going to be the answer to my parenting / whatever needs, right? And I used to do this all the time. I'd read so many books and I would just constant input, but I never did any work. And I didn't do a whole lot to actually implement anything. And of course, nothing changed. So then I felt like, oh my gosh, I have all this information and I'm not doing any of this well. Like I'm failing at all these things because it's not working. I know all this stuff. That's a big thing January says, does not mean much, actually. You have to actually do the work. And that's been a huge piece in going through the women's school is I am doing the work, and it is transformational because things are shifting. I was thinking as Marcy was talking, I have had a tendency to be very anxious and plan ahead and do all these things to try to like mitigate, right? And control and make sure everything's ready and have a bag ready for everything and 50 backups in the car and all these things. And I wouldn't be very good at relaxing or being just present with my family. And I remember the other week we went to my uncle's farm and we went canoeing, and I was kind of like, I need to do work and I need to take care of things. But the girls requested that I go with, and I was like, all right. So we go. I was so peaceful. It was a beautiful day. I remember canoeing from when I was growing up. All of it came back. Like I got to actually share the experience with them, tell funny stories about a fish that jumped in my boat. It was ridiculous. I was not happy about it. But like all these funny things and just sharing the experience. And I thought, when is the last time I actually was fully present and peaceful? Not very often. Until now, until going through this and recognizing how much my anxiety, again, never stated, right, Mercy? I never said to my girls, you must be very anxious about things and you have to get it all right. I've never said that in my lifetime, but that's what they were doing because that's what I had in me, and I was trying not to pass it on. But that's a big piece of why I also knew that I needed the women's school, because I needed to change how I operate so that I could model so much better for my girls growing up in extremely increasingly crazy world, that I could actually show them how to be confident, know that they could do hard things. Everything is figure outable, right? No, it's not really a word, but all those things where I'm now actively saying out the process with them. When I hit a frustrating thing, I just don't like close off and get mad and don't, try to figure out later. I actually have started now going through and showing them, I'm so frustrated. This program was supposed to be easy and I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to take a break and take a few breaths, do something else, and then come back to it and see if I can get maybe I'll ask somebody for help. And I'm actively saying the steps now because I realize I completely missed that for them. They didn't see that in me before. They just see me get super frustrated, kind of just blow up as an overwhelm and then do something else, right? So now I'm trying to actively model it, and it's working. Like homeschooling round 1 a couple years ago didn't go well. Let's just say it was a lot of headbutting constantly. And this time I'm, thanks to Judy, of course, in the Homeschool Foundation, seeing that, oh, okay, now I recognize this. I also see that it's okay to fail in this way because I'm learning from it, from the women's school. And now, tomorrow, hey, like I was telling Judy before, hey, we're playing slide down the stairs today. We're going to learn about friction and problem solving and how you get carpet burn and how we heal that. We're going to make this a whole biology. Where before it would have been like, come on, we got to get back to the books. We got to do what we're supposed to do. Now it was like, they're actively learning on their own and they're playing nicely together. This is beautiful. And I could recognize it and be okay with it and pick out the pieces that made me feel like we were doing school, but follow along and the piece and being able to pivot my mind even when I have points of overwhelm, or we're my daughter and I just butt-head battle, right? She just gets super stubborn. No, I don't want to start having a tantrum. Now we're okay, but this is why we're learning these things. And I'm not just talking at her. I'm saying, but you want to write beautiful stories. You're so creative. You're already writing stories. You don't want to be at second grade level of story grammar. She's like, I know grammar. I don't need it. Wait, what's grammar again? Well, it's those parts of the sentence you need to write a really good story when you're an adult. And even all the way through. And she was like, oh, okay. And I was like, what? She agreed. But I was able to do that because I wasn't just come on, we're supposed to though. I could actually say, I see she's struggling with why we have to do this when she wants to do something fun, but we're going to set smaller, slower boundaries to show we're in this together. Yeah, we're in this together. Right. And I'm on your side, but we still do have to do certain things, right? So
see, that's critical because what you're saying is that it's not now all of a sudden you took this course and boom, it's just life just runs beautifully and perfect and you're the model homeschool mother. No, there is still, I like to make the distinction all the time that never confuse commotion with chaos. Chaos means there's no order, there's no structure, there's no sanity, and it is not good. Our God is a God of order, not chaos. Chaos is never good. But commotion is fine. And kids are full of commotion, and they're not designed to sit at a desk 6 hours a day with 20 minutes of physical activity in that span. That's just not realistic. And so you're saying, yeah, it's just about that mindset that says, I can pivot with this and accept the life that comes to me while still being in control of it. Right?
Can I chime in there, Judy?
Yeah.
Well, Sarah, I love what you were saying too, because I think what that points to as well is just the freedom that's in the women's school. There's no pat answers. This is about you taking control of your life powerfully, and not control like you were just saying, Judy. It's not that we're controlling every single thing, but taking ownership of it and recognizing those moments where you respond differently, or you pivot, or you work with it. And when going back to your original question of the listening to a ton of podcasts or reading a ton of books and following all of the personal development gurus, and they all have good things to say, but like what could be true in one scenario isn't true in another. And I know there's a lot of things that I've had to rethink and rewire about certain beliefs that I've had. And I love the freedom in the women's school to be able to do that.
That's beautiful. You know, I love the, well, you know the story in the Gospels when Jesus cast a legion of demons out of the poor guy, right? You know, poor Galilean fishermen, they'd pull up to the shore and this guy would come running down out of the cave, right? His hair messed, drooling, or breaking chains and all of that. You know, it was not a pretty sight. They'd all go running away screaming. Well, that was a good picture of me with 4 toddlers. Okay. And I thought that life is just hard. That's just it. Life is just hard. And motherhood is hard. And sorry, I chose to give up all my dreams when I became a mother. But like you all, it took, you know, a real good running up against the wall after scaring all my friends away with my, you know, unshowered screaming appearance to realize that no, actually, life is a choice. And what message does it send to our children if we say, I gave up all my dreams for you? Oh, Mom, on the end of all your dreams? Oh, being a mother, no thank you. But that's not the way God designed it. Not the way. And that's why I believe so passionately that this is why this is such an important foundation for all parents to have. To be
Yeah, I think,
yeah, go ahead, Mercy.
I think especially too to remember not just like, oh, am I the end of all your dreams, but like, do you enjoy it? Like, do you enjoy me as your child? Do you enjoy my siblings? Do you enjoy our days? Children are so eager to be a part of, they're so eager to love and to play. Like, play is so essential. And yet, like, they don't, it's never just self-centered. Like, it's communal. They want community. They light up whenever an adult or an older kid or somebody wants to play with them. And it's like, wow, you want to play with me? And in a certain sense, it's just the wiring that takes place when, oh, I'm just too busy. Like, Mom's too busy, go do that. Like, I have to do this, go do that. Like, and never engaging on this journey through childhood, and not because of a fault of your own, but rather because you're so overwhelmed. You got to get dinner on the table. You have somebody that needs something done for them. And like, you have a bajillion things going through your mind that you don't have the freedom. And that's what it comes down to. Is it's not meant to be a criticism of any mother who feels like their life is just rapidly passing by, and they just wake up each morning in the hopes that tonight will come fast enough because they're so tired and they just want to go to bed. And when will they ever sleep again? And it's like, that's like, God didn't create you for that. And he certainly didn't create your children to grow up in that environment. Like, he created them to learn from you, to learn how to love life, to learn how to live life. And like, you deserve that training. And if you didn't receive it, it's like, that's, again, it's not your fault. But this is an opportunity to be set free, because children do ask, like, do you want me? Do you love me? And do you enjoy me? And not just, do you feed me? Do I have a bed to sleep in at night? Like, I feel safe with you, but do I feel incredibly loved and desired as, like, for myself?
Right. It's so, it's critical. It's critical. And, you know, to the parent who is homeschooling as well, that, you know, do you have to just get through this textbook? Or is your foundation, your relationship with me, built on a mutual love for knowledge? A mutual love to, you are invested in seeing me grow into a mature and capable adult. like you, Mom. I want to be like you. And when we transition from, I have to get you going through all these books, I have to get you filling out all the tests and the exams, to realizing that what is any of our education anyhow? The end of all subjects, the purpose of all of it is relationship. Do you realize that?
Mm-hmm.
Math is a language. The reason we study arithmetic is so that we can communicate difficult concepts with each other. It's about a relationship, so we can share ideas. That's what science is. So we can explore the natural world and understand the mind of God. This is about a communication, a relationship. And when we reduce it to taking tests and taking exams and all this, we've taken away that relationship. But how do we get back to the proper mindset? Because, like you said, Marcy, who taught us? Who showed us anything other than, here's your report card, did you get an A or a B? That's all we've ever been shown. And when you think about what other people, training that other people go through for their jobs, doctors, how many years of training do they go through, right? Athletes, they all have coaches. Can't win a medal without a coach. And even tradesmen get training and have to go through school. But motherhood is the most important job in all the universe. Do you realize that your great-grandchildren will know your name? Your great-grandchildren will know your name in the context of how you prepared their grandmother to do their job, to do their job, to do their job. And society depends on us to prepare new leaders. But who trains us? Where's the training? It's the most important job in the universe. Where's the training? So you're absolutely right. It's not any woman's fault if they're like, but life is overwhelming and life is just hard. How do we dig out of this? How do we get out of this, ladies?
I think I love the example, and this was eye-opening to me because I've been working on my mindset, right? Changing the way I think, being aware of what I'm thinking to myself, to others, how I show up. What is my demeanor? Is it with my kids like, okay, great, how's this going to go today? Who's going to give me attitude? But what am I doing? I'm giving them attitude right away and not even realizing what I was doing. And yet to the person who came to the door on the phone, I'd be like, oh, hello, oh, I'm fine. Yes, no, they're fine. Yeah. Right? I'm giving, how was I showing up to them? But this piece that was like all of you were talking about, why is it hard? Where do we learn these things? January has an example or analogy that says the garden, right? So there's these, and you guys can correct my particulars, but there's two gardens, and one garden you see and it's full of different flowers and it's flourishing, right? And it's watered and everything. And then this other side of the street, this lady's planting everything and she's trying and it's just, nothing's working, and she's getting so frustrated because nothing's working. It's just really hard to grow her garden. But the lady next door is like flourishing and it's gorgeous and everyone wants to go see her. And the key piece was that the soil was like all the skills. And so maybe in one part of the garden, the sunflowers are growing really great, but then, the tulips are not even coming up because we're missing, like I was missing decision-making skills. And looking back, I see how my parents passed kind of not good decision-making. They were making fine decisions when they made them. But
right.
That, like anxiety producing of not making a decision, I just didn't realize that was something you had to cultivate, right? How much anxiety that produced in me, how much it made everything harder. Or resilience, right? Basic skills that's the other part of this masterclass is not only the mindset shift and being aware. I mean, it's like a whole class of awareness, like ultimately, but all the skills that you never thought you actually either didn't have or needed, or you weren't even aware you didn't have them. And that's what makes life so hard. It's when you don't even realize you're missing key basic skills. And by unlocking that, it's unreal. like practicing decision making. You'd think like I've made decisions my whole life. Like I've gone to school, I've been in engineering, I've made tons of decisions. But at the same time, I would be mired in indecision for so long, creating massive anxiety for myself, not actually getting where I was wanting to go with my goals, then beating myself up because I didn't actually finish things. Round and round we go. But the key part of the key root of it was self-worth or self-image, but also that not knowing how to make a solid decision and roll with it. And if I failed, I learned. And if it went great, right? So those skills have been such a, January talks about, she wants to write a book about skills. She's like, well, no one buy it because who wants to do that? So it's not fun necessarily, but it's so critical. And that's why that other garden flourished. It's because that woman had learned or cultivated the skills, and then that soil was ready for flourishing.
Mm-hmm. We do have a tendency in our culture to think that, I'm just not cut out for it, right? That you're born as having talents or not. Mm-hmm. But that's just not the case. There are skills that you learn along the way. And part of this is, when the dating part in this, that riptides, people die in riptides every year, a lot of people, but the riptides won't kill anybody because they're not violent and they don't drag you down. But what happens is that this current suddenly forms, and it goes from shore way out to sea. And if you're swimming in the beach at this moment and you get caught, it's shallow, and your whole body becomes like a stone and you drown within 3 minutes because of what was in your mind. Your mind said, I'm gonna die. And so you did. And this is what happens when we find ourselves in this day that's going sideways and we say, I just can't do it today. Well, then we can't, because lactic acid floods our muscles. We don't have the energy. Instead, we have to train ourselves with the skills that you just mentioned, the skills to say, no, I'm a woman of solution. When our child comes crying to us, throwing a tantrum, and we go, ugh, drama again. How about if we say, I'm a tower of refuge? It's all about how we control our mindset. And it goes down to how we take care of our kitchen. I put things away as I cook. Nope, I get 8 hours of sleep at night. Yes, I do. Right? It's all skills. It is all about that. Ladies, this has been a beautiful conversation. We have hit our 1 hour mark and a little bit beyond. So we are going to have to call it a night, because let's face it, you can't get out of depletion by yourself. You cannot pull yourself up when you're already drowning. You need people to come alongside you and to walk you out of this.
Little girl, get up. Little girl, get up. Little girl, get up and live. Little girl, arise. Little girl, arise and see that he's not finished yet. The King is calling your name. The King is seeking your face. The King is here in this place, and he is your Lord. He is yours. Little girl, awake from sleep and step into the light, and let all your shame be washed away by the one who brings you back to life. The King is calling your name. The King won't stop till you're free. Oh, daughter, look up and see. Your Father is here. Your Father is here. We cry, Father. 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 The King is calling your name. The King is seeking your face. The King is here in this place, and He is your Lord. He is yours. Little girl, get up. Little girl, get up. Little girl, get up and live.